So, thank you very much, and a very warm welcome this afternoon to ITB and to our panel, where adventure unites nature, culture, and community. Today, adventure travel is no longer just about landscapes or adrenaline. It's about connection to nature, to culture, and above all, to the people who live there. Peru offers a very powerful example of how these elements come together. Today I have with me 4 panelists who can share their different perspectives on adventure travel in Peru. First of all, I have Elisabeth Hakim from Peru, all the way in Lima. I have Santiago Sánchez from the Muyuna Amazon Lodge, Daniel Tischer, a German travel blogger from South Traveler, and last but not least, Oscar ZUNIGA, the commercial director of Salcantay Trekking. First of all, Elisabeth, would you like to give some words of welcome?
Thank you. Thank you. Just a few words to say thank you for the organizers of this, creating this moment so that we can exchange ideas and best practices. And I'm very pleased to be here and listen to our esteemed panelists and hear from you also if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My first questions are for you, Daniel. From your experience in Latin America, how have the expectations of adventure travelers changed in the recent years?
I think in terms of more cultural experiences, the people don't want to travel to a destination, they want to experience it. To the nature, to people, to cultures. And I think culture is a big hub between adventure tourism and the communities itself, because especially in Peru, you have a lot of old traditions who are going to die a little bit if the tourism is not working in a good way.
Okay, and my second question for you, can you share a moment in Peru where you felt a very strong connection to people or a place beyond the landscape?
Sorry, I didn't get it. Can you tell me again?
Yes, like a special moment in Peru where you felt a connection to the place, to the people, to wherever you've been.
Yeah, one special moment was in the Colca Canyon when I was one of my first times when I traveled to Peru, going from Arequipa to the Colca Canyon, which is a beautiful canyon. And I was in a little town called Yanque, which is a little tiny town in the middle of the Colca Canyon. And I learned, everything I learned there was with a very young guide. She was 12 years old. And I was wondering why she's talking English that good. And she told me, oh, I learned English in YouTube. So she never visited school. She never learned it in school. So she learned everything she knows from YouTube. And now she's guiding people. And she was 12 years old. And she's also teaching some people in the community English. And she was very proud to show me her heritage, her culture. So this was a very, very special experience in Peru.
That's a beautiful moment, thank you. Now, Oscar, I would like to move to you. Should we show you a video first? Yes,
The power of connection. When adventure unites nature, culture, and community. In the beginning, there was the mountain, not as a destination, but as a source of life. High above the valleys, where the sky touches the earth, the mountains shape the rivers, the winds, and the stories of those who live beside them. For centuries, these landscapes have taught us something essential. Everything is connected. Nature, people, and the path that brings them together. Here, the mountain is not conquered. It is respected. It is listened to. It is thanked. Because the earth is not only a place we walk on, it is Pachamama, a living presence that provides, protects, and remembers. Every step across these trails is a dialogue with nature. A reminder that adventure is not about speed, but about awareness. Travelers arrive from distant places carrying curiosity, dreams, and the desire to discover something real. And along the way, they meet communities who have learned to live in balance with their surroundings. People who welcome with simple gestures, shared food, shared fire, shared stories. In these encounters, something changes. Strangers become companions, paths become bridges, and the journey becomes more than movement. It becomes connection. Connection with the land. Connection with culture. Connection with each other. This is where adventure finds its true meaning. Not in the distance traveled, but in the respect shown. Not in the summit reached, but in the impact left behind. Responsible tourism is not an option here. It is a way of walking. It means protecting what gives us life. It means honoring traditions instead of replacing them. It means traveling consciously, knowing that every action shapes the future of these places. The mountain teaches patience, the communities teach resilience, and the journey teaches humility. Together, they create an experience where nature is not scenery, culture is not decoration, and people are not just visitors. They are part of a shared story. A story where camps are not just places to rest, but spaces of encounter. Where silence speaks as loudly as conversation, and where the night sky reminds us how small we are and how connected we can be. This is the power of connection. When adventure unites nature, culture, and community. When travel becomes respect. When movement becomes meaning. Because the future of tourism is not built only with routes and landscapes, but with values, care for the earth, respect for its people, and awareness in every step forward. The mountain continues to stand. The cultures continue to live. And the journey continues to transform those who choose to listen. Not just to see, but to understand. Not just to arrive, but to belong.
This is a very beautiful video. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. My first question to you, the Andes are a very fragile ecosystem. So how do you balance the growing demand for trekking with the protection of the environment?
Actually, we practically comply with all the regulations. I think that the information that we provide as a company, okay, to the tourists or to the travelers before is really important because it's transmit the awareness to take care of all the environment throughout the way to the Salcantay Trek mainly, okay, or and other sectors, because in Cusco region, that practically we are operator, there are many activities in the mountains, even in the jungle, or multi-experience.
Are there any concrete measures you take to minimize the impact on the trails, on the water, on the wildlife, for example?
In every program that practically we operate, for example, we have a briefing session. In that session, we always inform about the requirements, okay, about what the passengers must bring and try to avoid, for example, to use the disposable containers, bottles, everything to minimize the impact of the garbage in the ecosystem.
And can you describe how the local communities are involved in the Salcantay trekking, in the programs and in the whole route, and how do they actually benefit from it?
Actually, as a sustainable and responsible company, So we have as a main providers the local communities because we work with them. Okay, it's really important to insert to this activity because the idea is to try to improve the quality of life. Okay, and being part as being part of the company. For example, we have horsemen, we have cookers, we have the even guides, tour guides that are from the local communities through the way to Salcantay. Okay, so we train them and we help them to make the new entrepreneurial opportunities, okay, and create new jobs for all their local families.
Great. Thank you so much, Oscar. Moving on to you, Santiago. Operating in the Amazon, it means working with the nature and not against it. What does that mean in practice for you?
Hola, hola. Yes, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. First of all, my name is Santiago Sánchez. Thank you for being here because I think it shows great appreciation of how much you care about these topics: sustainability, adventure, travel, nature, connection, community, and so on. I really enjoyed the Oscar's video on respect. I think that's key when we're talking about communities. And that's something that at least from our side and from our perspectives from Peru, we try also to bring this perspective to you. So for me, this journey of working with nature as opposed to working against nature comes first from deep observation and deep fascination. I was raised in the rainforest of Peru, and I remember when I was 8 years old, and I was with my father and a local guide. His name is Eduardo. He still works where I work. He's a local guide. And he stopped, and the sky, I remember the sky seemed really blue. He looked at some insects passing by our side, flying low, almost hitting me in my head. I will always remember it. He looked at the same insects and told us, it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain in some minutes. And we were like, okay, the sky is blue. Okay, we should head back to the lodge. And hurrying, we started paddling with a canoe. And as soon as we got to the lodge, it started one of the most intense rains of my life. And he knew because of, he knew about the insects. So I think it's important, very important, and actually essential that we learn how to observe nature. And if you have the time, go and visit the forest. If you have the time, go and invest in that kind of tourism. But most importantly, also talk to the local people who already have this knowledge and has this wisdom. So for me, that's very important, to show the respect and also talk to the people, to share the space, not as an imposition, but you as someone who really wants to learn. And also, there is something I think that binds us all together here, which is the fact that we have all been kids at some point in our lives. We have all been children. And with that same fascination that we might have forgotten by right now, sitting really straight in this talk and this panel, very formal, I think we should also remember that that was also part of us. And that fascination, we can use it to observe nature. In our lodge, the happiest people are the kids. And they are really the ones who really show the greatest interest. So I think we should come back to that, because they are the ones who are trying to understand nature, where I'm at, looking at the birds, looking to the sounds, remembering what the guide tells them. So I think that's important. And also, to wrap it up, I think it's important to also set limits to how you're gonna grow as a company, as a person, as an individual, as a community too. To work with nature means that you need to start thinking up to which point you're gonna grow, because nature won't be able to cope with it all. You need to start thinking in other ways of growing. So I think that's also essential. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you explain how, from your point of view, tourism supports both the conservation and also the local livelihoods around your lodge in the Amazon?
So this issue is really, I think, trending right now about like conservation, local people, local communities. How can tourism help this transition and help to bind it? For us, what's worked is that we have defined key species and key habitats. So if you can help us with the video, I forgot about it, sorry. But maybe without audio, so I can talk as we, can we do that? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so so this is the lodge. This is Francisco, one of the local guides. So key species means that are key to protect, but they need to be protected not only by us, but by also there has to be an agreement with the local people to protect it. And key species, for example, this pygmy marmoset, which is a beautiful primate, one of the smallest monkeys in the world, his home is around big trees that are really important for the ecosystems. I'm not going to talk about the millions of insects and the millions of birds that are probably around those trees, but I will talk about the pretty face of the pygmy marmoset, which is the beautiful monkey that you saw, and we can protect it. That species can be used by communication or by communicators with the local people and with local guides and with tourists who are interested in that. So I think key species are really important. Also, in my opinion, I think it's important to set up projects that bind the community, people like tourists, and also guides. So guides are essential here. We run a project with a PhD student, Nick, on trap cameras. So using trap cameras, we started seeing all the animals that tourists or that guests were not able to see. So local people were involved, local women were also involved, and this was really genuine, so really inspiring for the local people because they can start seeing all the animals that they couldn't see when they got in the forest. So I think it's also important to really bring this scientific information and this way of working with the local people.
Thank you. I have one last question for you. Can you describe maybe in a concrete example how the local communities are actually involved at your lodge?
Where we are located, I know we might have lost this in some civilizations, maybe in Germany, I don't know how it is. In many cities, we don't have this, but in these communities, they still meet every month. So there are community assemblies. Every first Sunday, they meet. So I think it's important that if you or someone who is here is working in an area where this happens, when there is a community meeting, I think it's important to show up. Even when no one else does. Like, even if no one else or other lodge around or other company doesn't show up, you still show up, because I think consistency builds this trust. So I also believe that if you are a company and you start seeing your supply chain, you start seeing your logistics and how you bring things from outside to the inside, I think it's important to ask how can local actors play a game in that supply chain. So start thinking, how can we, instead of importing shampoo or soap or conditioner from who knows where, maybe China, maybe Peru, maybe Germany, instead of that, ask the local people, hey, how can we build this together so there is an economy flowing within the community, within ourselves, and also provides support to the people and give a good service. And also, I think to involve local communities and to be there, there are uncomfortable situations that need to happen. I had one conversation once with illegal loggers. I know this is not pretty to say, this is not like romantic, but having these moments and spaces in which you have these opportunities to connect with the local people, even if it's uncomfortable, it will build trust. So I think that's also important. We have an NGO, not only part of the lodge, but as an NGO, and we run an educational program for kids and teenagers to read and write, simple stuff, but that changes the whole thing, and that's central. So I also believe education is central to bring in communities and also bridging this gap. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much for these insights. Elisabeth, moving on to you to give it all like an overarching perspective, considering this Peru as a whole destination. Why is adventure tourism such a strategic focus for Peru?
Yeah, okay. You know, we have all seen this shift that now travelers want, you know, to go and visit open air spaces. They want to meet with the communities. You know, we thought, not now actually, when you were talking, I was thinking, you know, when this started. For the past years, Peru has been always in the mind of the tourists, the travelers, a cultural destination. But when you see really our offer, when you see the mountains that we've seen now, or when you see the rainforest, when I think in the deserts in Ica, I mean, this is all crying that we are, you know, definitely, we can offer this. We're very strong in adventure. So it's becoming now a strategic focus because we see this shift in the interest of the traveler. And we've started with a few, you know, pushing harder. But there's always this, the underlaying in the background. There's always this rich, very rich culture, not just, you know, the sites, the archaeological sites, but the region of the people. And I think this is what makes us different, you know, different from other countries. The fact that we can offer all this variety of adventure connected with nature, but always with a human role. When you go on these beautiful treks, you know, you'll see always the role, and I think here, as Santiago was mentioning, how important it is the role of, you know, the people who guide, the people who organize, to make sure that in these travels, in this adventure, there's always getting to know the people, these connections. For me, you know, a Peruvian born and raised, I keep always, I'm not an adventurer really, but I can do soft adventure. So when I go in these trips, what really connects me is people. I learn through them to appreciate this nature. And I think that's why, you know, we're working, Isabel, harder. We are doing special events, for nature and adventure. Last year we did the first outdoor expo where we're bringing people to lesser known destinations. Well, I mean, maybe if you are all adventurers, you've been to Ancash and you know, doing these fantastic trails in the area of the Huayhuash or other Santa Cruz mountains, but, you know, taking them to Ica for the deserts, or taking them to Amazonas, to Chachapoyas for the Chachapoya culture, but doing these treks in the middle of the Amazon. So yes, we're putting more focus aligned with the needs and the, you know, what travelers are requesting. And it's very important because we bring, we improve the economy of these lesser known destinations, and we facilitate this empowerment with the communities, which is very, very important for us. So we're working on it, and yeah, it's great taking this role, you know, of opening the way for Peru to be perceived more than ever as an adventure destination.
Thank you so much for this thorough explanation. I have one last question for you. This connection-based adventure tourism model, why do you think does it resonate so well with markets like Germany?
Germany is perfect because, I mean, generally speaking, Germans love the outdoors, love, to be in contact with nature, and because the interest of the German traveler in sustainability, in keeping the place. I wouldn't even speak sustainability, but improving the place they visit, improving, making sure that they participate, in getting the place that they visit better. And we do in Prom Peru, which is the Peruvian Tourism Board, we do a lot of studies, and we see that German travelers are like 80%, over 80% of German travelers they engage already in adventure travel. Most popular is hiking, of course, with the mountains that we've seen, or going into the rainforest. We can see why. So that's very important for us. If you now take back into consideration, it's also very important because a visitor engaging in adventure activities spends quite a lot more than a normal traveler that will go just for the cities, see a few just over maybe just the sites that they can photograph. But with an adventure traveler, with a German adventure traveler, they will go. And I can tell you, sometimes I've been pushed. That I remember, and I'll let you know, last year, just before the end of the year, I went with 3 German journalists to I did this in the north of Peru. I went to Cajamarca, which is a beautiful, beautiful area in the highlands. And then we took a road that people don't take into Amazonas. I was like, the driver was there and I was pushing my way like this because I was so afraid of, the way. But with them, with these German journalists, I learned so many things. Their appreciation for nature, for adventure, taught me, me, Peruvian, I learned from them the way they were seeing things. And that, for me, helps me now, tell this experience and recognize the value what we have. We did, not just, we didn't, did mountaineering, but we enjoy nature, trekking in nature, observing bird. We did some birding, and we walked these fantastic landscapes. We engaged with the people that we met. So for me, it was such an experience learning about my country through the hands of German people.
Thanks for this insight. It's a nice story. I remember the journalists telling me about it. I have one last question for each of you, and I hope each of you can answer it to me, maybe in the order. If adventure travel in 2035 is truly successful, what should be stronger because of it? Nature, community, or the traveler? Maybe we can start with you, Oscar. What do you think?
Yes, actually we see, of course, that the local communities, and the government institutions and companies practically must organize to try to minimize the impact, because as, for example, in the region of Cusco, they have a different kind of paysage, different kind of activities that they can do it. That the travelers, of course, they can do it. So the idea is to try to organize the currently capacity for each place. It's like happening nowadays with Machu Picchu, right? Because the saturation, the quantity of the tourism that comes every day erosion all the sectors and terraces and always present some problems for the cultural institution that try to minimize the capacity of the people. So in that sense, we are trying to, for example, as our responsibility companies, to try to organize with the local institutions, local communers, okay, to look for any solution and for to prevent, practically, the erosion of these landscapes.
Thanks. Daniel, you want to share something as well?
Yeah, I can just talk from a travel blogger's perspective. I inspire people to travel to Peru, for example, or to Latin America. And for me, it's very important to show also sustainable travel. There's a very interesting statistic that says that 80% of the people go to 20% of the countries or to the sites. So there's a lot of more to explore. So look behind the scenes. Look where you can go, maybe, yeah, not to maybe to Machu Picchu, but there's Choqquequirao, for example. You have to walk there. It's more hard to reach, but it's less people. It's the same, kind of the same experience. And there are many, many places, especially in Peru, to explore without tourist masses. And what is also important is I see many young people in Latin America, because I live there, that are going from their communities to the cities, because they see it on social media. Oh, maybe I get a better life in Lima or in Santiago or in Bogota, and they leave their local communities. But you as a tourist has a lot of power, so you can bring money into these communities. And if they see, hey, that when I preserve my culture, when I preserve the culture, I can stay here, I can earn money with this, and I can preserve it for future generations. And that's an important thing to do, I guess.
That's so true. Thank you. Santiago, what do you think?
In my opinion, from the perspective from the tour operator or from any company that works in tourism, I think it's important that they define, they realize, they ask what their impact is. So I think that comes first. It's not possible to plan any intervention with a community, with your local staff, with people, without asking yourself what is the impact that you are creating with your business. So I think that's key. Also that we, with the guests, with the tourist people from outside, is also to involve them in a project. It doesn't need to be big. It can be really small. A really small intervention in which those people are together with local people in a respectful way. So I think if you can do that, or if you can invest your time and money in a company that does that, I think that will make things better in the future.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Elisabeth, one final thought maybe from you?
Yes. I don't know if you are tour operators, but for me, the role of a tour operator in asking their clients, you know, when they go and visit, to talk to the people, to engage with them, to really, because you will hear the most beautiful and the most, you know, incredible stories, and that will create a connection. For me, it's so important that, you know, when you go deep and ask them, like, you know, when I go with groups to, you know, accompany them, and we're in a restaurant, and I will ask the waiter, what is your name? How did you came? How long have you been working here? Are we in Cusco? I mean, are you originally from Cusco? Where, you know, just, and then you will see people open up. They open up and they tell you some beautiful stories. And I can, if I, you know, Peruvian, get emotional, I can imagine that visitors will do, and that will create a connection. And for me, that is very important, because you won't forget my country when you come back. You will remember that name. You will remember that person who served you. So if you are tour operators, please tell your clients, prepare them so that they, you know, can just be ready to talk to the people. Even, I mean, now there's no no barrier, no language barrier with all the facilities that we have. So let them feel proud, let my people feel proud that you are interested in them. That will be my point of view.
Thank you so much. That's really beautiful. Thanks to all four of you, and thanks to you for listening, of course. If you want to learn more about Peru, feel free to drop by at our stand in Hall 23. We are still there until tomorrow in the evening and would love to see you there and answer your questions about Peru. Thank you so much and have a nice rest of the day.